This isn't going to work well.
It's fun.
You thinking about making a road, a paved road, a highway or something? We're going to talk about that today. Plus, I got something in the mail I want to show you. This is Track Smack.
Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready? It's time for Track Smack. And now your host, just a regular guy.
You know, you don't have just every modeling show start off with a thumping beat like that on a Saturday morning. Well, it's morning here anyway. It's like 7 a.m. Pacific. We'll get into that later. Good morning and welcome to Track Smack. On this show, we talk about modeling stuff and we hang out with the community and chat. Today, we're going to be drinking some coffee. Watch this action. Oh, baby, you got to know what I'm saying right there, right? Except if you're Shannon Tapia, one of our moderators who's presently drinking a brewski, because it's brewski time where he is. It's kind of always brewski time, except on this show. Hey, today we're going to be talking about modeling roads, paved roads, highways, streets, whatever you want to call it. And the reason why is I'm in the process of doing that on my model, and I've had some success. Well, if you say that wrong, it's the wrong show. Some success. I've had some failure. I'm frustrated. So I did some more research. I thought, what the heck? Let's talk about it here. So we're going to be talking about different methods of making a road for your diorama, your model, your railroad, whatever you're doing. And we'll keep in mind right here at the beginning, there's more than one way to do it, all right? There's not the right way. Actually, the only right way is the way you end up doing it on your model. So that's kind of the premise. But one of the things we enjoy doing is going straight to chat and say good morning. Boom, good morning, chat. How are you doing this morning? Look at all the people that are here already. You know, I was just sort of waking up this morning about, 6 o'clock my time. And I just bounced over, see what's happening. People chatting it up over there already. I'm sorry. In the morning, I do the clean the throat thing. Okay, get over it. One of the things I love about this community is all of the community, boom, happening over there. You guys just chopping it up. Let's say good morning to some people over there. Can't say good morning to everyone. Got a show to do. But looking right down the list, we got Whatever Works Railroad, Mr. Ron Stimson in the house. Good morning, sir. Rob Tiemann, always in the house with a boom. Good morning, Steve. This is not the Steve you're looking for. Shannon Tapia with a wrench. Good morning, Shannon. Fred Wild, Flyboy 2610, Otis Tooley. Otis goes to a lot of our shows. Almar, always good to see you, sir. Dwight Curley, Cowboy Valley and Timberline Junction Railroad. And Terry Romine, clapping because happy to see us. That's amazing stuff, everybody. Hey, thank you. Welcome to chat. You know, if you look right there, today's broadcast is brought to us by Midwest Model Railroad. Actually, got this from them yesterday. Great people over there. One of the reasons that I buy my junk from Midwest Model Railroad is because Stephen Atwell, Gary Atwell, the fam over there, they're just good people. And it even says that they are your biggest fan in model railroading. So hats off to them. Got some good stuff to show you I got from them this week. So anybody want to just start talking about roads over in chat, or do you want me to just get into it? What do you want me to do? What's happening? What is happening? Hey, it's funny. One of my moderators is telling me to switch to live chat, and I'm there already. Boom. Wake up. Smell the coffee. So anyway, let's see. Can we watch replays? This is the first time that I've actually been able to watch the live stream. Says Randy Collins. Randy, yes, you can. All the replays automatically get loaded, including the chat, so you can sort of keep up with what's going on. You can make some comments there if you want. It's a lot of fun. So make sure and head over there. Hey, one of the things to point out while we're still in chat, you see them blue names with wrenches? Those are our moderators. We got a bunch of them. And they're good dudes, by the way. And their job is to keep us on topic, make sure you're having a good time, make me look really good by all the cool things they say about me, especially Ron Piskel. Man, do you see his wind up in chat? That dude's awesome. Another thing they'll do is if you're just going to be obnoxious, they're going to tell you to go play somewhere else. So don't be obnoxious. That's my job, everyone. Boom, back over to the main cam. So here's the deal. On my model, I've got the Dowling's Orchard sort of diorama portion of it that I'm working on right now. And I wanted a paved road. Now, just to give you a little background, I have made roads more than once on my model. I'll tell you some techniques I used so you don't think I'm just pulling this out of here, all right? There's a lot of other stuff in there I'd like to pull out, but we're stuck with this for now. First road I made was a dirt road, incidentally, which we won't be covering in great detail in this episode. But I made a dirt road by putting some glue down, sifting some real dirt on top of it, letting it dry. I did the old alcohol and glue thing on top of it. It made it dark. I wasn't thrilled, but then I took some dirt and dumped on it and rubbed it with my fingers. I was thrilled again. So I've done some dirt road work. You're going to see some of that at Dowling's Orchard. But the next thing I did was I took some drywall mud, just the stuff you get at Lowe's or Home Depot. You know, I mentioned those two stores often enough. They should sponsor the broadcast, but they don't. So whatever. I took some drywall mud where I had my engine servicing facility, like where my engine house was and stuff. And I smoothed it on there really good, sanded it down, painted it gray, actually put some control joints in it. And it didn't look half bad. It looked like concrete, but it was like more of a slab kind of environment. And then I took some hydrocal plaster and I smoothed it onto my old Brownsville scene and painted it gray. And I never got around to striping it, but I put some road signs up and stuff. And again, it didn't look half bad, to be honest with you. So I guess the opening thing to say here, again, there are many ways to do this. Now, I've put links to 4 different videos in the description of this video. One of them is my own video on It's My Railroad because I'm all about me. There's that one. I've got a link to Jerry Leone's video on making asphalt roadways on MRVP, Model Railroader Video Plus. He's a fellow contributor over there. And I've got one from Roy Smith from down in Panama. Yeah. He made one with some spackling paste, some cork road bed, painted it, put some cars on it. It really came out pretty nice, but it's a different method of doing it. And then there's another one. It was just a random video one of the moderators put up. A gentleman using like a poured-in plaster, but he masked it off for curbs, striped it and everything. It came out really nice. So those are 4 different methods, 4 different videos. We'll talk more about these methods as we move forward. Plus, I'm going to tell you some things that just suck about making paved roads, frankly. So anyway, with that in mind, let's head over to chat. What do we got going? Path Valley Railroad says he uses just black paint on plywood. And I would say, PVRR, if that works for you, that works for me. You know how this works, right, people? If it works for you, it works for the community. So there's one method to try, very basic, very quick. I would recommend flat black paint for your road because, you know, there's no such thing as a gloss road. But if you want shiny roads, maybe they're wet roads. Who knows? Maybe you just tell people it's a wet road. It just rained, baby. Anyway, you can tell them that. So there's like a basic entry. Get yourself a road happening, baby. Far64 says plaster, 2-inch putty knife, and pretends it's a paving machine. You know, that's awesome. And not just build the road, but pretend you're the construction crew building the road. Huh? How far do you want to take this, people? Sidebar. when I was building the first version of the Orchard packing shed at Dowling's Orchard, I actually bought some scale lumber, 2x4s, 2x6s, 4x6s. And I was trying to glue these together to make like the frame that the building's built from, and bailed out on the idea. That stuff is just too damn small. I couldn't make it work, but I thought it was cool. I'm like a framer, bro. Anyway, whatever. That is awesome. Take some plaster, pave it out with a knife, and then, come the end of the day, I'm going to say the key to whatever you do is the painting afterwards. You got to get a good texture, you got to paint it, and then go through the horror of trying to stripe it in scale. We'll get to that in a minute. Irish Wolfhound says, use superfine ballast for gravel road and smooth it for paved roads, but I'm interested in other methods. Now, here's the thing, Irish Wolfhound, that you may have as an advantage that some of us N-scalers don't. And that is the superfine ballast in HO scale is gravel, in my opinion. That's how it looks. It looks like gravel. But when you transfer that down to us little peewees with our little N-scale stuff, it looks a little bulky. I tried using sand one time, actually sifted sand because of the color. Again, it didn't come out half bad, but it didn't come out half good either. So that's me. But if that works for you, that is certainly a method that you folks over in chat can think about doing, is just using some ballast and maybe packing it down to smooth it out. Boom, you got yourself a gravel road. Let's see. Well, here's one for you. Pat Valley Railroad says, I did my grade crossings with construction paper, baby. See, these aren't methods that I was thinking of when I decided we would use this topic. But it's, again, showing you, viewers, all you awesome people in the model railroad world, or the modeling world, don't thumbs down because I said model railroad. Where was I? Oh, yeah. There's more than one way to do it. Construction paper, boom, worked for Path Valley Railroad. Thanks for throwing that in there. That is awesome. Let's see. D and RGW in Idaho says, one method I have heard to model an old road is to encase sheetrock, mesh, and plaster or drywall mud, and it will become flexible, and you can crack the road and chip it up. Well, you know something? That's something I had not considered. I don't know that I would use, personally, I wouldn't use sheetrock. Oh, sheetrock mesh in plaster or drywall. That changes things. You know what? If you put the plaster on cardboard, or like he's saying, the drywall mesh, let it dry, then when you bend it like that, it'll form cracks. Wow, real cracks. I used, here, let's go to the main cam. We're going to talk about me now. Boom. Sorry, chat. I used one of these bad boys right here. It's a very fine point, sort of Sharpie thing. It's the number one. I don't know what it is. It's a pen. And I just went along the top of my road and made some squigglies. And, from the distance you're going to look at it on the model, they look like cracks, bro. It looked pretty awesome. Sidebar on that. Keep this in mind when you're making your roads. Oh, well, anything in models, but when you're making your roads, the striping on a road is like, I don't know, 6 inches wide, at least here in California, and we're leaving California. So when I get to 10C, it might be different. It's like 6 inches or so wide. I don't know, 8 inches, whatever. Anyway, to get that on an N scale, which is what I model, to be prototypically accurate to scale, very tough. As a matter of fact, while we're on roads, let's talk about striping, shall we? I ended up striping my roads with these bad boys. These are some kind of an art pencil, a yellow one, and a white one. And I've just got, they're $1.49 and made in Germany, apparently. One thing I want to say about these is they are crap. They didn't work. I did what I could, but they wouldn't transfer enough of the greasy lead onto my road. My road looks like crap because of the striping. So what you're going to see this Thursday is me trying to fix that. So anyway, but the thing to keep in mind is if I'm using model railroad scales as the scale for now, okay? It could work if it was 172 scale, 132nd scale. For every, let's say it's 132 scale, you're building something that size. For every foot, you're actually 32 feet away, right? On in scale that I model, for every foot, I'm 167 feet away is what it's supposed to be, okay? Something along those lines. So when you're modeling your roads or any other part of your modeling, your mind is going to expect to see certain details if it's going to be realistic. The problem is some of the details, if you do them to scale, are so small, you won't see them. So what do? You employ the regular guy principle. I invented this, by the way. Okay, you have to employ this. You have to exaggerate the detail. You have to exaggerate it. So your stripes on your roads are a little wider than maybe they really would be. Maybe your lanes are not 12 feet wide. They're 10 feet wide, scale feet. So just throw that in there, and this broad discussion when you're talking about modeling your roads, making roads, the techniques for it, the ultimate goal is to paint it and stripe it. Well, in most cases, I guess. And sometimes you might have to cheat a little bit. Sometimes you may have to come up with something else. So anyway, that's a little striping pencil diatribe. Now, boom, back over to chat. So over in chat, what else do we got? Let's see. Well, Tony Rifkin, a longtime contributor, says, I use drywall mud thin and mixed with black gray paint. Looks awesome. Sand it to fit when weathering. Sand it to fit, I think is what he's saying. Yep, you know, that's the thing. Another thing to point out, Tony, when we're talking about mixing it with gray paint and black paint. If you watch a lot of videos on people doing their stuff, right, it can tend to be everything's a weathered and cracked road. Weathered and cracked. Is that true? Are all roads that way? Depends on what you want to do, I guess. I'm trying to get a freshly paved and striped road in Dowling's Orchard, my scene, because I've got weathered junk everywhere else, right? Everywhere. Weathered wood, weathered concrete, blah, blah, blah. So I'm really trying to get a really nice, freshly paved road, and then I'm going to track some dust onto it, some dirt, where it comes off from the orchard. So that's what I'm going for. It's not easy. So anyway, there's a tension there. Some people will go flat black, which is asphalt color, basically, and mix in a little gray, so it's kind of a very dark gray. You can also pave it sort of very dark gray, but then towards the middle where the vehicles travel, gently dry brush on some flat black, because as you know, cars drip oil or whatever the hell happens when they're driving along the road, and it's always darker in the middle of the lane. Keep this little one in mind. When you're driving on the freeway or something, anytime there's a place where cars would bottom out, like come down a hill and go up a hill, where they bottom out, it's always darker there. When they go over a hill and crest, it's always darker there. I think what happens is the shock over years, okay, but the tension of the car changing drops the oil on the road, and it gets darker right there. So that's a little detail you can throw in after you get past the fiasco of striping your road. Whatever. Who else got something to say? Yo, by the way, you notice in chat, all the good stuff's coming from chat. It ain't coming from me, baby. That's why we do this show. I'm just here to drink coffee and look this good. Anyway, still over here in chat, Dwayne Ernst Fork and Spoon, still love the name. Fork and Spoon Railroad, still love it. Says use jolly pins for striping roads. I have no idea what he means by jolly pins. I guess was added by my moderator. Hey, what are jolly pins? Dwayne, what the heck? You can't throw up a term that nobody understands. Especially me. I'm the host of this stupid show. You know what I mean? It's not a stupid show because you guys are here. Hey, this is coming in from N-Scale Union Pacific Evanston Subdivision from Panama. You know, we've got live in Panama right now, Roy Smith. And actually, I don't get time to watch a whole lot of video anymore, but I watch Roy. So, Roy, good morning. Roy says, I used graphic chart tape for stripes in the past, very narrow and N scale, so it's hard to apply. Now I use highways and byways striping. I hate those road striping pins. Well, Roy. What I'm going to do today, while we're on the subject, is drink some coffee. I love that stuff. I'm going to go back to Hobby Lobby this morning with Cindy Brown, the First Lady of Model Railroading and the Queen of Everything. We're going to go there and architectural section. I just remember this morning. They make like a flexible ruler like you bend it to a curvy shape if you want. Somewhere in art, I've seen it. It just dawned on me. Actually, one of the videos in this description, the fourth one, I think it is. Check it out. He uses something like that he got from, I think it's Woodland Scenics, to follow the curve of the road, use it, and mark it out. I'm going to give it a shot anyway. So when I go to Hobby Lobby today, you can expect to see something on that Thursdays. So, Roy, thanks for contributing that. It's always awesome to hear from Panama. By the way, Cindy Brown, the First Lady of Model Railroading, and myself are considering moving into Roy's house rather than going to Tennessee. Or just saying, I like Roy. He's a buddy. If you don't mind, I want to take a quick break real quick. Boom. Hello. Welcome to the quick break. And I want to open this. I got this yesterday from Midwest Model Railroad. It is some stuff that I bought for Dowling's Orchard. The road we're talking about, to keep it connected, makes a nice turn. Then there's a dirt road off of it up to Dowling's Orchard. Let's talk about the details. All right, let's open this up. And, oh, this is awesome sauce. You guys didn't know you were going to get an unboxing this morning, did you? Oh, crap. Oh, everything fell out. Oh, what happened? Oh, hey, look, it comes with a little note. Thanks for your continued support, Stephen, from John. Boom. They tend to throw these little notes in there when you buy stuff from them. It just means they're grateful that you're buying from them. They're awesome guys. Got some packing material. We'll pull out number one. It is okay, this is what happens when you don't actually read the entire description. This is a old windmill built and ready and in scale. It's built and ready. I thought I was going to have to assemble this thing. Well, this is kind of awesome. I didn't know. I think I moved too fast. Anyway, I got to hurry this up so we can get back to talking about roads and stuff. Ooh. Oh, should we take it out of here? You know, if I take it out, I'm probably going to break it. Yeah, whatever. All right. See that little guy right there? This is going to be an old broken down windmill at the orchard. They used to pump water with it, but since they got electric power, they switched. So that's that. What else we got in here? There's something else I got in here. Well, there's a kit. Water tower. Yep. The water tower is going to be next to the orchard. Pumps water, puts it into the deal. Awesome sauce. That comes from Midwest. Isn't that an annoying sound on a Saturday morning? Very excited about that. So you can expect to see that stuff going in on the layout. But just before we get back to roads, there's one other thing I want to do. I want to give a I'm giving a shout out this morning to my friend Mike C. And here's why. You see this little guy here? Can you see that? See that? That is a billboard Mike made me and sent to me. And I got to tell you, there's a little hill at the curve of my road that is going to get a billboard. It always was. He didn't know that, and he sent me a billboard. Boom. That's how it works in this community, baby. So you can expect to see this. Mike, thank you for sending this over there. You're awesome sauce. It's delicate, though. I have to set it down gently. And there. Yep, I didn't break it. All right, anyway, enough of me glad handing over here. Let's just jump back over to chat. Boom. What else you guys have going on in chat? Let's see. Marcel is saying, don't forget about manholes and road patching. And Sparky, these are moderators, by the way, added in drains on the side of the road. Yep, they would say the devil is in the details, and that is true. I'll give you an unrelated example to sort of explore the example. I redid my logging camp way back when we started It's My Railroad. And at the end of the day, I had these structures just sitting there, right? And they're cool looking structures. But I started adding little wooden barrels, little guys, little pieces of rope, just random crap. Different colors, different textures, that sort of thing. And people were like, wow, that looks amazing. What looked amazing was the level of detail I put on there. So again, it depends on how much time you want to invest, what's your end game. None of this is a requirement. But as they're pointing out, and I completely agree with, when you're making a road, like say in a city street, they have manholes. They have catch basins on the side where the water drains through the curb into the stormwater system. There's fire hydrants. There's red curbs for no parking. All these, there's street lights, by the way, traffic signals, which is, it gets a little tough, but all these details you would expect to find next to a road. So I'm going to throw this out there, and it's going to be my opinion, maybe not yours, but the texture of the road, the painting of the road is going to be overshadowed somewhat by your striping, your curbs, your manholes. And by the way, they sell manholes that are just like a piece of paper. You just stick it on there somewhere. Boom, done. They sell stormwater inlets that would go next to a curb that you just peel and stick on there. Boom, you've got it done. So lots of options in that regard. Again, it depends on what's your end game. You could want to just have a road because you want to run your trains. So you take a piece of plywood and you paint it black, put some cars on there. Yeah, I've got a road. Or you can get all brained up and moronic like I'm trying to get and go to such a level of detail that you just get frustrated and quit the hobby. Yep, quit the hobby. I burned down my garage. I was so frustrated with my road. Anyway, the level of detail, in my opinion, will overshadow the platform that you're building it on. I could give you case after case after case of what people say about my model, that if I showed you up close the flaws, you'd go, I never saw it. Well, of course you didn't see it. I detailed the crap out of it. That's why. What else you got going on in chat? Tony Rifkin says, what about grade crossing? It's my worst enemy. Tony, grade crossings. Here's been my experience with grade crossings. And unfortunately, with the size of my layouts, which are always, truncated, compressed, every grade crossing happens to be on a turn. Not the easiest thing to model a grade crossing on a turn. So what I have done in the past, and this is just me talking out loud, take a piece of balsa wood, Now, again, I'm doing in scale. You have to scale the stuff up for HO or some other scale. Take a piece of balsa wood and lay it on there and cut it out so I get my rectangle over the curve of the tracks like this. Lay it out that way and just gently push down on it a little bit. What that'll do is it'll make an impression where the rails are. Cut it out like that and then set it back on there. Make sure it sets on the railroad ties and sets on the railroad ties this way. And then you got to go through and score it to make the railroad tie version of a grade crossing. But you score it basically perpendicular to the travel of the grade crossing, if that's the look you're going for. And then when you stain it and paint it, glue it on, pretty convincing. The one thing to keep in mind, though, is between the rails where your flangeways are, you kind of got to go through there after the fact with a file or a razor knife and just bevel the inside of that a little bit. Anyway, that's a grade crossing, which is part of a road. I'm going to have a minimum of 2 grade crossings on the BSR once I get done with the Port and Brownsville. So I'll experiment with some junk and you'll get to see it. Thank you, Tony. What else we got going on over there in chat? Let's see. Possum Bayou has a good one. What about roadkill roads? Around here I have possums and armadillos everywhere. Okay, if you want to put some roadkill on your railroad or on your road, go for it. As far as I'm concerned, I have random details on my railroad, like I have, well, I can't tell you. It's not appropriate. Anyway, hidden on my railroad somewhere. And when the kids come over, it's their job to find where I hid it. It's a lot of fun. So, yeah, roadkill. Why not? Actually, I was screwing around with a car. This is like a country back road. A car that ran out of gas or something pulled off onto the dirt shoulder and they just left it there. It's all dusty and dirty, and maybe I'll put a little traffic ticket on the windshield or something. Anyway, those kind of details, to the degree that you want to do it, is what you need to be looking at. Thank you, Possum Bayou. 460 Forest 64 says, for details, Jersey barriers, old windshield blades, and excess painted yellow. There you go. Another way to put a detail right there on your railroad. Well, let's see. Again, I want to go back to talking about me and modeling for a minute. As you're listening, this is a reminder, all right? It's like a PSA. As you're going through listening and reading what's happening in chat, I need to encourage you to just shove off, just make it happen, okay? Already we're talking about all kinds of different ways to make a road and some summary of the techniques. Once again, I actually, on mine, I took a piece of tempered hardboard and I made a template. I cut it out. I beveled the edges by sanding it because it's supposed to sort of roll off to the shoulder a little bit, right? I beveled it, but prior to installing and painting it, it actually came from an old piece of my backdrop. So it had been rolled on white painted primer and rolled on blue, sky blue, giving it the effect of a texture is what it boiled down to. There's a texture to it. It's not flat and shiny. It's not all rough and coarse. It looked pretty good. Once I primered it with gray paint on top of that and then put on the flat black paint, it looks like a really good road. I'm very happy with it. And then you saw in last Thursday's video how I treated it and set it and hydrocaled it and all that. So that's awesome sauce. But to encourage you to watch the videos in this description, look at what's happening in chat and then the comments that'll follow on this video. But the important thing is pick a method and go for it. There will be people that saw me use tempered hardboard that'll think I'm a moron for doing it. There are people that'll see you use drywall mud and sand it smooth. That'll go, what? You're a moron. Who does that? I do that. I did it. It looked good. Whatever. And one last thing before I go back over to chat. Keep this in mind. Use what you have. Don't go out and invest $300 in some N-scale paving machine or something. Why? Roy Smith uses spackling paste a lot. I've used spackling paste. I've used drywall mud, hydrocal, dirt, all kinds of stuff. What do you got lying around? And then experiment with it. You can take a piece of cardboard, baby, and take some hydrocal plaster, some drywall mud, spackling paste, one of those mediums, thin it down with some water, and brush it on. You can, Steve? Yes, you can. I've done it. It's easy. Use what you got lying around, but pay attention to what's happening in chat because there's some really good things going on in chat. And I'm going, boom, back over there right now. What else you guys got? Anything else about roads, pavement roads? Stephen, 87th PSNP. This just seems a little random. I'm throwing it out there. Walmart, a craft paint that is asphalt and looks good for painting. So apparently you can get a craft pin that looks like asphalt. Actually, while we're on that subject, you can buy asphalt colored paint if you want. You don't have to custom mix it like I do or some of the other peoples do. You can just custom mix the paint and it's totally awesome. Hey, we're right at about the bottom of the hour. And if you guys don't mind, I'd like to throw this at you. Very quick on announcements. Couple things. One, there's been some confusion as to what time this show actually starts. And I just want to remind you, Steve doesn't always say it starts at all these different times. Steve doesn't. It starts at 7 a.m. Pacific here in California. Now, if you live back east somewhere or in the Midwest, it may not be 7 a.m. where you are. You need to think outside the box and realize that maybe there's more time zones than the one you live in. When in doubt, just look at when it says it starts. Watch the show. It's amazing stuff. On October 12th, I think is the Saturday, I have to go to work on Saturday. I got to be there at 8 o'clock. There's no way I can do the show. Sorry, we're going to miss the show on that Saturday. It's going to suck. Instead, I got 8 hours on a Saturday in like a classroom environment. Who does that to a brother? Don't they know we have a show to do? There's that. Tomorrow night, Dirt Chic Unscripted, right here on this channel. Cindy Brown, the queen of everything, and myself will do our live improv show where we talk about modeling stuff, craft stuff, life stuff, and of course, me, because that's awesome. But the following Sunday, no show. Cindy will be in Vegas doing God knows what in Vegas, so no show then. This coming Thursday on It's My Railroad, we are going to finish up some of that road, show you some more scenicking, and I got to tell you, very excited. It's looking like a big boy railroad. I look like a modeler. Yeah, if you don't look too close. And then lastly, thanks to all of you who are watching the Dirt Chic Studios channel. Cindy Brown, the queen of everything, put up a video for a custom hack she did for a Turner, and it came out pretty good. Huge support for it. So shout out to all of you people checking that out. And then, of course, you people are crazy because some of you are watching the Dirt Guy Drive Time channel. That's my personal vlog. I do every day random crap that'll change your life, and it's also a link in the description. Okay, but you didn't come here for the announcements. You came to talk about roads. Come on, feed me something, baby. What do you got in chat people? Let's see. You guys aren't actually done already with talking about roads. Have we learned it all already? Here's one for you. N-Scale Union Pacific Evanston Subdivision, Roy down in Panama. He's bringing in something that we need to think about. We already talked about details on a paved road, right? That you can hide the road and it's whatever surface with enough detail. It'll just look awesome. But where does the road go? Where do you send it? Because the thing that I struggle with is anything that heads to the backdrop. This is what Roy's talking about. If it goes into the backdrop, what do you do from there? Because depending on where you're standing, if you just sort of paint on a tapered something or other to represent the road, if you're standing up, you're sitting down, you're on the left, you're on the right, where does the road go? It can look like a painted something on the backside. So there is a challenge in having the road actually look like it's coming and going, not just a plop down. I'm getting away with it on the BSR because it starts on the front of the layout, curves around, and then goes back off the front of the layout. That's easy. It disappears into wide open spaces. No problem. So Mike Pfeiffer, I should have put a link to his video up here. Mike Pfeiffer made some road action happen on, go to Mike Pfeiffer, Pfeiffer Hobby Supply, his channel. You're going to see how he made a road, and he makes it sort of disappear out of sight around under a bridge and kind of just moves off into the distance. And so when you're looking at the scene, you don't seem to see a road that just dead ends with sky. Dead ends into the sky. That's a whole different video, people. So anyway, go check him out. It's a good video over there. Sorry about that, Mike. I wish I would have thought. Anyway, I'm talking about it now. So keep that in mind. I've seen videos where people make like a bridge or an overpass or something that dead ends into the backdrop. Very difficult from my eyes to not see that as deading into a backdrop. So plan out your roads accordingly. Sometimes it can't be avoided. It's just the way it's going to be. Here's something to keep in mind. If you've got your track, let's say if you're a model railroader, with a gap between the track and the backdrop, and you put in a road on the opposite side, that's cool. It's running parallel. If you have a photo backdrop, right, of like where it turns, like where it'd be a T intersection, and you place that back there, I've seen people have some success with having the modeled road in the front merge with the backdrop, and it can become very convincing. But when you're just dead-ending your road into the backdrop, it's going to be a challenge. If anybody has a great way of doing it, you got to put a link or something somewhere so we can all check that out. All right. Thank you, Roy, for bringing that up. I like what you did with yours. Actually, you'll see his has got an overpass to nowhere, which is fine. And then it curves around and sort of disappears behind the hills. You never think that it's just going into the sky. Anyway, what else you got in chat? Past Valley Railroad has a good one. Paint a tunnel on your backdrop with Wile E. Coyote smashed into it. Oh, you see, I'm not the only one bringing the comedy this morning. Think about it. Wiley, the Roadrunner, would paint a tunnel on a wall and then beep, beep, go through it. And then Wile E. Coyote would come up and hit the wall. It was a funny gig. If you can go back that far, I did. Let's see. Tony Rifton says, in roads with a point of perspective, you can always use mirrors to give your road never-ending illusion. Tony, I've seen people use mirrors. I've heard of people using mirrors. For me, mirrors have two problems. One problem is this. Sometimes I can see myself, and I've got a face made for radio, baby, not to be seen. So it's like it scares the crap out of me. But if you angle the mirrors just right, you can really extend into nearly infinity the look you're trying to go for. Some angled mirror, and then especially if you put in front of it some kind of tree action or something. So those transfer into the mirror, and then it goes on. So but that's certainly something to experiment with. Experiment with some mirrors so your road goes like this, and it looks like it just keeps on going. Keeps on trucking if you're one of our trucker friends. Let's see. What else we got going over there? Well, Sparky's jumping back in, reinforcing what I'm saying. Sparky 107 with a wrench. He's saying small mirror tile placed at the end of the road. Trees cover the sides so it just reflects the road. We'll see. Why do I always think in terms of a mirror that's the size of a vanity or something? Little square mirror. Concealed tree. I can see how that would work. And then from you're standing here and let's say your road goes that way, that little mirror's there, and it's just going to make the road look like it keeps going. And I think, doesn't that work on a mirror even if I change my perspective? Because my perspective in the mirror will change too, won't it? That is some cool stuff. I love this channel. You guys are awesome. What else you guys got going? Because we're getting a little long in the tooth. Yeah, not that long. But let's see. Well, I'll tell you what. While we are accumulating some more of that over in chat. Oh, Norman Rowe with Wrench says, use a makeup mirror. See, I still overthink it. I was going to like cut me down a little mirror. No, just use a makeup mirror. Get her done. Anything else on that right now? Nope, I don't think so. So here's what I want to do just before time gets away. And I've said it a couple of times during the course of the show, but here's the overriding principle when it comes to our philosophy here at TrackSmack or even It's My Railroad. There are a bunch of videos out there of people modeling roads, paths. Everyone from, you guys know, Luke Towan, the king of modeling. He does such incredible work. I pale in his presence. All the way from that to, without offense, in chat, plywood with black paint on it. Done. The whole spectrum. What I'd like you to keep in mind, what I'm hoping you'll keep in mind, is you can do it with whatever you have lying around and just make yourself a road. But that's true of modeling in general, in my opinion. It's not a competition. It's not you making one that doesn't look as good as his or his. My road that I made that's got the scenery around it, the dirt shoulders, I know its flaws, I know its warts, and I have seen better. But every time I look at it, I'm just so proud of this damn road. I just love it. And I've got regular guy skills. Maybe the difference between me, if there is one, and other modelers is I'm not afraid to just go for it. I don't really care. I want people to appreciate my work. But if they don't, if I do, that's what matters. So in all of your modeling, and especially when you're a part of this community and sort of this YouTube community at large, you got to just model. You just got to get your model on. And don't worry about what other people think. We don't. I want to encourage you to just shove off and see what happens. All right, enough sermonizing. It's true, though, baby. Make it happen. Boom. And over in chat. Terry Romine is bringing up another good way to sort of terminate a road. Conceal the end of the road behind a building. And see, that's part of what we're doing as modelers. That's part of the challenge is to fool the eyeball. David Pop, my buddy over at, the executive producer over at MRVP, he actually says that in one of his videos over there. Part of the deal is to fool the eye into thinking something's happening. That's why we exaggerate details. It doesn't have to be scale specific unless that's what you want. You need to fool the eye into thinking there is something there. A shadow that's not really there. Or that a road continues on because it disappears behind a building. I have a related challenge that, well, it's probably going to be a year before I have to deal with it, but just to let you know, when my trains pop out on my top deck, they pop out in an area called Caliente Flats. That's got a quarry. We pick up stuff to send concrete down to the port. I don't want another tunnel portal. I don't want it to look like it's coming from a mountain. It's Caliente Flats. There's no mountain there to come through. So where did the train come from? It just comes through a backdrop right now. So I'm trying to figure a way to have a very small opening structures something where the train will just appear from around the scene and keep going. So you don't actually see that it comes through the backdrop. So anyway, those are things that you need to consider when putting in a road. And I think Terry is onto something. Let's see. Well, Sparky, one of our moderators, beaming in another good suggestion. Sparky says, practice on a scrap of wood. Trial and error. You know something, Sparky? I should listen to you more often, brother, because here's the deal. I just often just commit, which I did. I committed, and I have striped my road. I painted my road. It didn't come out quite the way I wanted it. I installed it. And as I started getting the glue and the alcohol and stuff for the scenery around it, and then I was dry brushing dirt on it, I ended up wiping off the striping. It's gone for the most part. What's left looks like roadkill. There you go, Possum Bayou. And I really have a challenge this weekend in that I got to paint it in place and stripe it in place with static grass around it and dirt and stuff. I don't know. Sparky, had I done that, and I know you do that, Sparky, and I don't listen to you. I should have practiced on something till I knew my technique worked before I went permanent on the railroad. But you know what? One of the things I love about my channel is I'll show you the screw-ups, not just the good stuff, because it happens to all of us. Any last-minute comments over in chat? Well, okay, Sparky is owning the show. Next week, he's hosting. Sparky 107 with a wrench. Try it, like it, use it, try it, hate it, toss it. Look what he says. That's the thing. You tried to throw it away. There's no time goal. There's no, you got to end it at a certain time. Yeah, if it doesn't work, start over. Actually, one last thing that reminds me of starting over. Jerry Leone on Model Railroader Video Plus, the link's in the description to his video. Even though it's N scale, is using 100 grit sandpaper for his road surface. He explains why and that he's experimenting with it. And when you see the results that he comes up with, it is amazing. I may end up laying some 100 grit sandpaper down on top of my road and going with it from there. So anyway, that's what I think. So listen here, everybody. We're just going to go look at chat one more time. And yep, looks like, man, a lot of good stuff in chat. You guys really just chopping up. Not all necessarily related to roads, but then again, we're a community, aren't we? So here's the thing. I want to thank you all for being here. I want to again encourage you. Modeling in general, road specific. If you don't feel comfortable with it, practice with something. If you think, does this work or not? Make a video, load it to your YouTube channel, get your buddies to see what you did and your technique, get some feedback. And if any jackhole shows up on your channel and says you suck, first thing you do is you ban them from the planet. Second thing you do is sick my moderators on them. Woo! That's what I'm talking about. Anyway, again, thanks to the moderators for making this an awesome show today. Thanks to everybody contributing over in chat. Thanks to the people who made the videos I've got down in the description. And thanks to the entire community for your support of me and the things that I do. My name is Steve Brown. I had a great time being here. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow night for Dirt Chic Unscripted. And until then, rail on, my friends.